Hello, everyone, and welcome to EVTN News, your source for Catholic news. And man, those shadows are really bad. Okay, let me try to move this. Okay, yeah. So I'm glad to be here. Last week, I could feel myself kind of getting sick as the show went on, and um, glad to be feeling much better. And I have a lot of stories to cover, so let's get right to it. Okay. There we go. All right. So, new details have emerged regarding Pope Leo's forthcoming meeting with the Cardinals after reports earlier last week indicated that the sacred liturgy would feature prominently on the agenda. Uh, Italian journalist Nico Spuntoni has confirmed that members of the Sacred College received the Holy Father's Christmas letter, which sets out the 4 topics to be discussed at the extraordinary consistory scheduled for December 7th and 8th at the Vatican. So that's in just a few weeks. And we'll see what happens with that. And so, citing the letter, Spitoni also presents the 4 themes in greater detail. So there are 4 themes. They include the first one is reviewing Evangelii Gaudium, written by Francis, for renewed momentum in the proclamation of the gospel. Okay, that's Modernist. Second is studying Predicate Evangelium, also Francis, also written by Francis, regarding the relationship between the universal church and the particular church. So it's basically probably like non-Catholic churches and Catholic churches, right? I mean, probably. And then number 3, examining the synod and synodality as instruments of effective collaboration with the Roman pontiff on matters of greater importance for the good of the whole church. Again, not really. Actually, the whole synod needs to just be buried. It needs to be forgotten about. People need to move on or declared heretical, which isn't going to happen under Leo. And then the fourth one is probably the most, the one that people actually care about. Discussing the liturgy through an in-depth theological, historical, and pastoral reflection in order to retain sound tradition and yet remain open to legitimate progress. So the latter formulation is taken from the Second Vatican Council's Sacrosanctum Concilium, Article 23, on general norms for the reform of the sacred liturgy. Sputoni says, this passage appears to leave open the possibility of discussion among the cardinals regarding how to address communities of traditionally minded faithful which are steadily growing, particularly in countries such as Italy, the United States, and France. Now, my opinion, I don't think this actually has much to do with the Latin Mass. I actually think it has to do with the Novus Ordo. And so I think they're going to tinker with the Novus Ordo again. I mean, we'll see. We only have a few weeks to find out. Now, I don't know that we'll find out the contents of the discussion immediately, but the National Catholic Distorter seems to have an inside source. And so even though they try to distort things, their reporting, or at least their sources, they have a source from inside the conclave, or well, they have a source from inside the College of Cardinals. There's no question about that, because they were being leaked information during the conclave, during the conclave that elected Leo. So we'll see what their source has, but I would pay special attention to the distorter. Again, I think you pretty much, as a requirement, I think you have to be a heretic to be a writer for the distorter. But their source is very high up. I don't know if it's Supich or McElroy. It sounds like it could be one of them, but anyway, it's speculation does no good. Okay, and I've got a lot to cover, so I'm just moving on to the next story. Pope Leo the 14th has appointed Auxiliary Bishop Ramon Bejarano of San Diego as the new Bishop of Monterey, California. And boy, I said I wouldn't talk too much about bishop appointments, but man, we got a lot this week. This past week, we had some new bishop appointments, and man, are they terrible. And I'm going to focus on the appointments in the United States. I think there are other bad ones in other parts of the country, but man, I mean, talk about Francis Church on steroids. This is bad. In February 2020, Francis appointed him Auxiliary Bishop of San Diego, run by McElroy. In June 24, Bishop Bejarano presided over an All Are Welcome Rainbow Eucharist in St. John the Evangelist Parish in San Diego. At the end of the service, he offered a special blessing for LMNOPs. He said, "Help us embrace that our beloved LMNOPQ plus siblings and all who feel marginalized by the Church are beautifully and wonderfully made in your image. Bless our LMNOPQ ministry so that we may continue to grow by your grace and bring all people to the knowledge and love of Jesus Christ." In July 25, Monsignor Bejarano again presided over an All Are Welcome Eucharist at the same church. During this liturgy, Bejarano offered a public apology on behalf of the Church for what he described as pain and marginalization experienced by LMNOPs, declaring, "I apologize for the pain and suffering that I and the Church have caused many of you. I apologize for the stigma and trauma we have caused by telling others that they are not valued and not worthy of God's love." So he's into apologizing for the Catholic faith. And then during the Eucharist, a gender misidentified person had been permitted to speak at the ambo. So nothing good there. And very much into the LMNOP stuff. Francis liked those kinds of bishops. Leo seems to like bishops that are very heavy on the immigration bandwagon, but I guess the LMNOP stuff sometimes comes along with it. And it's really sad to see these bishops, especially Archbishop Sample, who I'm going to talk about in a short time, leaning so heavily on the immigration bandwagon. I think they just need to stop and, focus on the Catholic faith. That's sort of what, bishops should be doing. But instead, they're banning altar rails like Bishop Michael Martin of Charlotte, who announced Wednesday that altar rails, kneelers, and Prairie Deus will not be permitted for reception of the Eucharist in the diocese beginning next month. He wrote a December 17th pastoral letter distributed to priests specifically on the reception of Holy Communion. One of the quotes, and you can read it if you really want, but again, this is just kind of a, what would you call it? Like a broken record, I guess, is what it sounds like. So he said the Episcopal Conference norms logically do not envision the use of altar rails or kneelers or Prairie Deus. I don't even know how to say that. Anyway, it's communion kneelers, altar rails, whatever. For the reception of communion, doing so is a visible contradiction to the normative posture of Holy Communion established by our Episcopal Conference. I don't know about that, and I don't know if I actually believe that, but I think it seems like Martin is intentionally trying to destroy his diocese. And actually, there's another story coming up on Martin. See, we have a million stories today. I guess the biggest thing here is that, if there are altar rails at churches, then just kneel at them. Although, first off, I don't know. People go to the Novus Ordo there. This is really just a Novus Ordo problem. And so if you can find something better, then you really should go. really should go to something better. Okay. There's a new Archbishop of New York. So Leo officially accepted the resignation of Cardinal Dolan as Archbishop of New York and named Bishop Ronald Hicks, a close ally of Cardinal Cupich, as his replacement on Thursday. Archbishop designate Hicks, the current Bishop of Joliet, Illinois, will be installed as the 11th Archbishop of New York on February 6th. Hicks is 58. He was ordained a priest in the Archdiocese of Chicago in 1994 by notorious Rainbow Cardinal Bernardine, and served in various roles within the Archdiocese over the next decade. In 2015, Cupich appointed him Vicar General of the Archdiocese, a role he held until he was consecrated auxiliary bishop by Cupich in 2018. Hicks was appointed Bishop of Joliet by Pope Francis in 2020, and in 2024 became the chairman of the USCCB Committee on Clergy, Consecrated Life, and Vocations. In 2021, Hicks, along with Cupich, was among the 68 bishops who signed a letter asking the USCCB to drop the issue of barring pro-death politicians from receiving the Eucharist. In 2024, he was among the Illinois bishops who forbade parishes within his diocese from promoting a petition for a state ballot advisory question aimed at legally requiring parental consent for medical interventions such as slaughter of the unborn and gender surgery for minors. So he doesn't want people to sign petitions upholding like basic Catholic logic, basic biology. He's a Biden bishop, and that kind of invalidates any kind of Eucharistic initiatives he has in his diocese, because if he's promoting the Eucharist and he's allowing sacrilege, or he's encouraging sacrilege, then you have no credibility. That's pretty sad. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so then there are people from his diocese that said, why are you getting on his case? And Anthony from Avoiding Babylon commented on his effeminate manner of speaking and gestures, and took some flack for that, and people were very upset. And some of them said, oh, he's very friendly to the traditional community, but it turns out he merely tolerates them. There was a traditionalist on Twitter. He said, I'm in his diocese attending an FSSP church. He didn't ignore TC, Traditionis Custodes, as people suggest. He downgraded us, the FSSP, to a mission after gutting parishes / merging, and designated our parish as a mission because he can't abolish the FSSP. Stop with the nonsense. Knowing that New York, Dolan basically didn't do anything about the Latin Mass in New York. He didn't crush it. In fact, Anthony said that Dolan administered the old sacrament of confirmation the old rite at one point in the Archdiocese. And I think that was, might have been after Francis cracked down on the Latin Mass. So there's that. And then I don't think he's going to do anything about James Martin S.J. In fact, Martin was very excited to hear that Hicks was appointed. The Cupich and Bernardine connections are truly terrible. It doesn't mean that Hicks agrees with them, but it's hard to imagine that anyone who made it through seminary in Chicago under Bernardine is traditional in any way. Okay. Oh, and Dolan is age 75. And so people are saying, well, he was bound to be replaced. Well, Supich is 76. So when's he going to be replaced? I'm sure if Hicks replaced Supich, I'm sure people would be thrilled. I actually say that honestly. I don't say that sarcastically because a lot of people don't like Supich. I mean, in a way, he was similar to Pope Francis in that regard, where he's not making a lot of friends. And Francis had a very small network. And it seems that people are at the very least fooled by Leo because he's nicer than Francis. Okay, well, speaking of Leo, Bishop Athanasius Schneider has expressed gratitude to Pope Leo for granting him an audience on Thursday, stating that he was impressed with the Holy Father's attentiveness and understanding. Wishing the details of the meeting to remain confidential, the auxiliary bishop from Kazakhstan did issue a comment to Vatican reporter Diane Montagna. He said, "I'm deeply grateful to Pope Leo for granting me a private audience during which I was able to share several proposals aimed at the spiritual good of the Church. I was impressed by the Holy Father's attentiveness and understanding. Let us pray for Pope Leo that he may strengthen the faith and promote justice and peace in the liturgical life of the Church." Almost certainly he talked about the Latin Mass. Now, whether Pope Leo will do anything about that or not is a different story, but that's nice he got an audience. And he had an audience with Pope Francis, too, a year or two ago, if you remember. And so I believe this was his first meeting with Pope Leo, and he got to advocate for the traditional Mass, as a few have done. Possibly Burke, but who knows? Okay. Oh, another bishop. Okay. Pope Leo appointed Father Manuel de Jesus Rodriguez as the Bishop of Palm Beach, Florida. Born in January 15th, 1974 in the Dominican Republic, which is a common theme among U.S. bishops, as they are born outside of the United States. You think you'd want people that were in the United States? Is Leo naming bishops in the Dominican Republic who are from the United States? I don't really have a problem with people being named, except for people like this, who we'll get to in a second. But he's naming a lot of foreigners as bishops of the United States, and it's not. I guess you could call it a mission territory, but we have plenty of traditional masses. I think the rest of the world is ripe for evangelization or re-evangelization, because at one point most places in the United States had the tradition, or in the world had the traditional mass before Vatican II, and the faith was growing, and then after Vatican II it wasn't, and statistics really tell the story there. Lots of excuses from people, but yeah, the statistics tell the story. Anyway, Rodriguez became a Salesian of Don Bosco and was ordained a priest in 2004. He is currently the parish priest at Our Lady of Sorrows Church in Queens, in the Diocese of Brooklyn. So he's going from Brooklyn to Florida, like New York to Florida. That's a long, decently long plane flight. East Coast, so same time zone, but very many states away. Several times on Twitter, he shared posts from LMNOP activist James Martin, S.J. Let's see. On December 2018, on pictures of a LMNOP Eucharist published by Father Martin, this now bishop said, "The Church is always welcome to all those interested in having Jesus as the Lord of their lives within the Catholic tradition, which includes believing in community life as an essential component of practicing the faith. I hope these LMNOP masses don't become Catholic ghettos." So there's some religious stuff thrown into LMNOP worship. And then after Francis received Father Martin in September 2019, Father Rodriguez wrote, "I'm very happy that our Holy Father is publicly supporting James Martin, S.J. After Pope Francis published the pamphlet Fiducia Supplicans, Monsignor Rodriguez endorsed it." So, pretty pathetic. Really a terrible selection for a bishop. Okay, did he say, I'm just kind of looking there. Nope. Okay, let's move on. Oh, okay, Archbishop Sample. The Archdiocese of Portland, Oregon posted this on their Twitter page. The new communion kneelers have arrived just in time for Advent and the Christmas season at St. Mary Cathedral in Portland, Oregon. And I can show you a picture. I really do need to get better at this, rather than pausing the stream to find this. But it's kind of tricky to have everything pulled up all at once. But actually, this is the benefit of, what would you call it? This is the benefit of StreamYard. So I can pull this up. I hope it does. Hope it does pull up. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh. And let's see if you can see it here. Okay. There we go. This is the Archdiocese of Portland. And let's see how it's displayed. Okay, and you can see the photo right there. There, make it a little bit bigger. And yeah, there we go. That's nice looking photos there in the cathedral too. But so they're not. I mean, it's not really communion rails per se, but I think they surround the altar on all the sides. Yeah, the cathedral, there's no high altar there, but I don't know. They're making it. They're trying. They're doing a decent job there. So glad to see that. Okay. Very good. Okay, next one. Going back to Bishop Martin. Oh man, this is unbelievable. The Diocese of Charlotte announced a change to its seminary formation program in a December 15th email to the priests and deacons of the diocese. Starting with the upcoming academic year, diocesan seminarians will spend a pastoral year teaching at a local high school or middle school, the email explained. Seminarians will each have a lay mentor and will receive pay and benefits. Each seminarian will live at a local rectory, paying room and board at a rate established by the diocese. The pastoral year will take place before the men begin their theological studies, immediately after the period of philosophy studies referred to in the program of priestly formation as the discipleship stage of priestly formation. So they'll have what is probably equivalent to a bachelor's degree at that point, but they won't have a teaching certificate, which is required in most states, I imagine. I know that different states are more strict than others, but they really want that teaching certificate. And presumably they will have no background in educational psychology or like classroom control. This is essentially like a long-term substitute teacher. And there's not really any commitment because they're only there for a year, guaranteed. I mean, certainly some teachers move on. Like whenever teachers are hired somewhere, certainly they, I don't know if they plan to stay or not, but, assume that a lot of them ended up staying more than a year. But these seminarians are guaranteed to be gone after a year. So it makes for a difficult school year. I don't know that the parents would be particularly thrilled either. Someone who has no teaching experience and someone who didn't enter the seminary with the intention of becoming a teacher. And this is, this is reducing the priesthood to like social work, basically. What's the point of a priest? What's the point of the seminary? Is it to prepare men to teach? Or is it to prepare men to administer the sacraments? Because it seems like Bishop Martin, his theology is way off base. And I think we already knew that. But this is just another indication of that, and just another way to run off what seminarians have already, a way to run off the seminarians that haven't already quit. If there are any seminarians who are still in that diocese, they need to get the heck out of there. I mean, I don't know if Leo's going to remove Martin, but they need to leave. It's going downhill very quickly. And Martin's absolutely showing himself incapable of leading, besides being a modernist. And all these bishops that I'm talking about today need to resign. If you're a Biden bishop, if you're promoting the rainbow, if you're banning altar rails, resign. There's no reason for you to be a bishop. Okay. They're just destroying the faith of the lay people. They're destroying vocations. It's almost like it's intentional. Almost. I use the word almost. It is intentional, I would imagine, in many cases. Okay. Today, oh, not today. Yes, it is today. Another bishop, another Leo bishop. Pope Leo has appointed Monsignor James Misko as the new Bishop of Tucson, Arizona. And this is Weisenberger's replacement. So they were hoping for someone better than Weisenberger, and we'll see. Early results are not positive. Until now, he served as Vicar General of the Diocese of Austin, Texas. This was under Joe Vasquez, who was promoted to Houston after he crushed the Latin Masses in Tyler, Texas, when he covered when Strickland was kicked out. Vasquez was pretty bad on other areas as well, which Misko collaborated with. In November 25, just a month ago, Vicar General Misko wrote to the clergy of Austin that the practice of setting out kneelers for the reception of Holy Communion should be discontinued. There we go. This is the most pressing issue for the Leo Church, banning altar rails. Misko noted that the use of kneelers had become more common in recent years, and stated that the bishop requested the practice be ended. At the time, Monsignor Misko argued that placing a kneeler for communion risks confusing the faithful about what the church considers the norm. It doesn't risk anything. He just hates the Catholic faith, apparently. Wants to ban kneelers for sure. That's a surefire way to indicate that you just want to destroy the faith among the lay people. I know that there's some. I don't know if some people are intentionally. I don't know if some of these guys intentionally hate the Catholic faith or intentionally try to destroy the Catholic faith, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on in their heads. I mean, Vatican II Marxism, I don't know. But you just want people decide to practice their faith more reverently. Why would you? I don't know. We've asked these questions a million times, and at this point, they're just modernists. There's no excuse. Furthermore, as Vicar General, he was involved in implementing Traditionis Custodes. He enforced policies that restricted the Mass in the traditional rite, including shutting down large, well-attended masses at the Cathedral of St. Mary. So he was an accomplice to Bishop Vasquez. And in 2020, As Vicar General of the Diocese of Austin, he confirmed that the then recently released jabs are morally permissible. He said, "The good that can come from using these jabs so far outweighs the remote evil that the person would be participating in." Moralists, people who study moral theology, and bishops of the USCCB have indicated that someone can take them because of that remoteness with no fear of committing sin or of doing something that contradicts Catholic teaching. So he encouraged people to take the jab. Sounds like par for the course for the nonsense that he spewed later on. So very much on the wrong side of many things, as all the Leo bishops that I've talked about today. It seems to be the case. If you're Catholic, or if you're interested in the Catholic faith, then you have no chance of becoming a Leo bishop. He's picking the most ambitious modernist that he can. I'm just a little bit surprised that the most radical pro-LMNOP bishops have not been promoted yet, but that may be coming just very shortly down the road. A few of them, though, it seems as though they have been promoted from priest to bishop. So, how many of these modernists are left to even select to be bishops? I can't think there's too many. I mean, most of them end up quitting the priesthood and getting married or getting a civil marriage civil marriage. Have a few people in mind, but I don't know, rather not say. Okay, so Pope Leo gave a Festivus address, Pope Francis would use this opportunity every year to insult the Curia. So Leo actually did his first Christmas address. He was much nicer about it, but basically this is revealed that he is promoting same modernism as Francis. And I said a quote, you can take the man out of Chicago, but you can't take the Chicago out of the man, referring to Bernardine. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a clever comment, but anyway, that's my original take. So Pope Leo, he had a few interesting paragraphs, which I'll read. He said, "I wish first of all to remember my beloved predecessor, Pope Francis, who this year concluded his earthly life. His prophetic voice, pastoral style, and rich magisterium have marked the Church's journey in recent years, encouraging us above all to place God's mercy at the center, to give renewed impetus to evangelization, and to be a joyful church, welcoming to all and attentive to the poorest." Okay, as far as prophetic voice for heresy. He wasn't a prophet at all. These are the red flags that we saw immediately from Leo, and he's continuing this down this terrible modernist path. And the rich magisterium, I'd call it a poor magisterium. Poor theology, poor liturgy, just all around bad. Okay, and in the next paragraph, this kind of shows where he wants to go as well. He said, "At times, beneath an apparent calm, forces of division may be at play. We can fall into the temptation of swinging between two opposite extremes, uniformity that fails to value differences, or the exacerbation of differences in viewpoints instead of seeking communion. Thus, in interpersonal relationships, in office dynamics, or in addressing questions of faith, all three are on the same level, right? Liturgy, morality, and more besides, there is a risk of falling into rigidity or ideology with their consequent conflicts. So don't be rigid on the liturgy." Well, there's a lot of priests that certainly are not. You can't accuse them of being rigid on the liturgy. The Novus Ordo allows for that. But how does that play in office dynamics? Uniformity that fails to value differences instead of seeking communion. Well, didn't Jesus said, "I'm not come to bring peace, but division." And if there's a major issue of faith and morals, shouldn't we defend the Catholic values, the Catholic morals? Or should we just rationalize, or not rationalize, but should we just ignore the differences and try to pretend like everything's fine? And that's why people, they say, oh, trads are so mean. But when it comes to the Catholic faith, there's no flexibility. There shouldn't be flexibility. Alinsky and all of them. Yeah, Saul Alinsky. That's the big connection to Chicago, right? That's the big connection. Alinsky and Paul VI. Paul VI. And I don't know, was Bernardine friends with, did he ever interact with Saul Alinsky? That's a good question, but I also am not sure of the connection with Bernardine and McCarrick, but not good. Really not good. All right, well, this predictably this video has gone on longer than some of my others, which is fine. But that's all I have. Okay, everyone have a great Christmas this year. Have a great Christmas season. And my next video will probably be in the octave of Christmas, although I do not expect very many big stories. I could be wrong, but it seems as though the Vatican's probably going to take a long break. So no more Modernist appointments for a few more weeks. The big news will be whenever Leo meets with the Cardinals, see what they discuss. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I expect the next video maybe even to be incredibly short, but we'll see. And if all the media members are taking holidays, taking days off. Everyone's just enjoying themselves, spending time with family, or reflecting on the Christmas season and enjoying that. We're just a few days away, so all right. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a great Christmas, and I'll see you after Christmas. This has been EVTN News. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.